Hi, my name is Rob Moffat. A bit of background about me. I've worked in software development for many years, building risk and finance systems in banks mainly. I've got an MBA and degree in computer science, and I've moved around a fair bit within my industry. And most recently, I'm the senior technical architect at Finos, the FinTech open source software foundation. And I like to write and journal about what I've been doing. I'm really interested in the ways in which software projects go wrong and how companies make mistakes in IT. So in about 2018, I was working at HSBC and I kind of had an aha moment, which led me to writing both a website, riskfirst.org, and a book based on the website, Risk First Software Development. Selling books isn't very profitable, but it's been a really valuable and useful experience nonetheless. And it's really helped validate that aha idea and led to some interesting things happening. So I'm going to split this into two main parts. First, I'm going to assert the claim that all work is risk management, which is closely tied into what Risk First is all about. I've no idea whether I'll be able to persuade you of that, but I'm going to give it a go. And then we'll tackle, if dev is a game, how do I win? I'm going to apply those risk management techniques to what we do as developers on a day-to-day basis. So today I'm going to defend this statement: all work is risk management. And this is one of the founding philosophies of Risk First. So for the next 15 minutes or so, I'm going to try and persuade you that this is the case. And while I'm making that case, maybe, try and think up some counter examples, bits of work that aren't risk management, and then we can discuss them. So my approach is to do this in 3 steps. First, I'm going to make an appeal to authority, and then I'm going to talk about how the UK as a whole does risk management. And then I'll bring it back to talk about like the tickets on your backlog and how they're actually just risk management in disguise. And a lot of people think risk management is really boring or really technical. I want to get away from that. After all, if all work is risk management, then we're doing it anyway, and it can't be that technical. So the quote above is actually the first sentence from chapter 1 of a fairly famous book on software development, written in 2000. It's this one, Extreme Programming Explained by Kent Beck. And this is the first book on Agile that I read. And it seemed like a breath of fresh air compared to what I'd learnt at university about software development, which was all rational, waterfall, iterative development, structured programming, and so on. And Kent Beck had a bunch of ideas in extreme programming that really deviated from the accepted norms of software development, like pair programming. And this is a picture of some guys doing pair programming. Some people love it. A lot of developers grew to hate extreme programming because of this. They didn't want to share a keyboard and mouse with someone and work together. But what is the point of pair programming? What Kent is trying to avoid by recommending this is key person risk. That is, having individuals on a team who are the only people who know about a thing. And if they leave or go on holiday, your project is exposed. That's the idea anyway. Pair programming is actually a risk management technique, specifically trying to address key person risk. So Kent Beck also invented or co-invented JUnit, which is a library for building unit tests. And as a Java developer, I use this all the time. And if you're used to Ruby, you'll probably be familiar with Minitest or Jest if you're a JavaScript programmer. They're just basically versions of JUnit for those different languages. And I actually can't imagine coding now without building tests as I go and having tools to at least understand my coverage. It just seems so helpful to have this. So why do we write tests? Why are unit tests such an integral part of extreme programming and Agile? And I'd say again, they're managing risk. So what risks does unit tests manage? So it manages a couple of risks. So unit tests are automated, so they can be run all the time. And this reduces the amount of manual testing you need to do. And too much manual testing is a risk because, well, it takes time and the feedback's slow, but you have to rely on people to do it the same every single time. And then also there's a regression risk. Our code is going to change in the future. Are we going to break the functionality of our existing code when we change it? By having unit tests, we have some more certainty that when we do change it, we haven't broken the features or the functionality that already exists. So the risks that we are managing with unit testing are on the left of the diagram. What's the downside of unit testing? That's on the right here. In order to address the risks on the left, I have to own some extra code in my code base. So that's a complexity risk. The code base is more complex. And, building those tests and maintaining them, that's going to take up some of my schedule. So there's a risk to the schedule in writing tests. Now, if you're good at unit testing, this is a great deal. And what I mean by a great deal is that the benefit those upsides outweighs the cost, the downsides. The trick is to write just enough tests to address the risks on the left. But if you go crazy and you end up turning it into an industry, that blows up those risks on the right. So unit testing is a trade-off. Being good at unit testing means being good at controlling the risks on both sides of this slide. And so this slide gives you a clue as to what Risk First is about. It's about exploring and categorising the risks that affect software projects and pointing out those trade-offs. So let's move on from extreme programming for a minute. My background is in finance. When I worked at RBS and credit risk, I was working on finance regulations. And one of the most important ones, or famous ones, is the Basel Accord. And so among other things, it defined 3 types of banking risk. And it demands that banks measure and report them. So, okay, market risk, that's the risk that financial products you own, like foreign currency, will change in value. So if you bought some dollars wanting to go on holiday and the exchange rate changes, then the dollars might be worth less by the time you actually go. Credit risk is the risk that people who owe you money won't pay it. And finally, operational risks are things that affect the operation of your business, like software systems going down, data being lost, and numbers not adding up. A good way to think about operational risk is to think about the whole firm as a machine. Operational risks are ways in which that machine breaks, and that can result in financial losses or reputation damage. So what the Basel Accord did was force banks to start thinking seriously about measuring and reporting in terms of what are the risks to our business and how are we managing them. And they were able to do a divide and conquer approach. Different departments dealt with different risks.